Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and today we will talk about a topic that may surprise a lot of you, because a lot of people found my channel through my Deity Work video. But over the past year, I would say, my personal relationship with the gods, my personal relationship to Deity Work has changed quite a lot. So, let me update you on that. Let's go! If you are one of those many people who found my channel through my Deity Work video, which is already quite old, or you found my channel through one of my Norse gods and Norse goddesses videos or anything like that, you may know that for a long time Deity Work was a big focus in my practice, not only in my heathenry practice and my Norse pagan journey, but also in my witchcraft practice. It took up a lot of space. I put a lot of time and effort and energy into it. So it was, yes, it was a big focus. I still remember a weekly vlog that I once filmed, and probably 90% of what I was doing was giving offerings to the gods and goddesses, going into direct communication with them, all of that kind of stuff. And that has changed quite a lot, and I thought I would talk about this today because it is totally fine when your practice changes, and it is totally fine if something doesn't feel right anymore and you feel like you want to change it up. So that is what we will talk about. For a long time, my deity work kind of looked like giving offerings, a lot of physical offerings, trying to give offerings daily, sometimes to all of the gods and goddesses, sometimes to individual gods and goddesses, depending on the day of the week, for example. There were a lot of different things that I tried, but I always tried to give offerings a lot, and I always tried to go into direct communication a lot. So I checked in with them a lot, sat down, pulled out my tarot cards or my runes, and asked them if there was something that they wanted me to know, that they wanted me to do for them, etc. So it was a lot of me doing a lot of active work, engaging a lot actively with the gods and goddesses. But after some time, I don't know why, but this kind of shifted. I kind of felt like giving these daily offerings, for example, putting coffee or tea or water out for the gods and goddesses daily, kind of didn't really feel right anymore. It didn't feel special to me. So I switched things up a lot. I got rid of all of my routines, which was a very good idea. But also with that, I kind of switched around and switched from daily offerings to weekly offerings to only offerings on the full moons to only offerings on special days and back to daily offerings, and I kind of tried to find a way that worked for me. But I had to figure out that daily offerings didn't really work. They do work, like I can give daily offerings, but they don't really feel special to me, and for some reason daily offerings to me personally feel better doing them for my ancestors than for the gods and goddesses. I cannot necessarily explain to you why, it's just an intuitive feeling, but for some reason giving water or coffee or tea as an offering to my ancestors daily feels right, while giving them all the time to the gods and goddesses kind of feels wrong to me. And that doesn't mean that if you're doing that, that's wrong. That just means that for me personally, for my personal practice, it doesn't feel right. So I stopped doing that. Also, my pattern of communication changed a lot. So what I am doing at the moment, I wouldn't even call deity work anymore. Back when I made my deity worship and deity work videos, I explained that I see the difference between deity worship or honoring deities and deity work as deity work being kind of communication flowing both ways, while deity worship or honoring goes mostly or in general only in one direction, from the practitioner to the god or the goddess. And as I already explained, previously I sat down a lot. I tried to sit down every evening, trying to communicate with the gods and goddesses, trying to figure out if someone is trying to tell me something, if someone wants me to do something for them, something like that. And a lot of the times also there was just no reply, you know. It was kind of like knocking and nobody is answering, or calling someone and nobody's answering. But I still continued doing that all the time, and I put a lot of energy into that. But I don't feel the need to do that anymore. At the moment, I kind of feel like I'm more free-flowing, you know. If someone wants to reach me, if someone wants to tell me something, then they have their ways of sending me signs. Like, I know if I find dead animals outside, I know it's hell, for example. Or if I see cats everywhere, I can be pretty sure that it's Freya. Like, if I see specific signs, then I can ask them if that was a sign from them, and if yes, then I can figure out what they want from me. But I don't really feel the need anymore to actively contact them and ask them something. I am at the moment in a place where what I'm doing is more of an honoring relationship. Like, I like to give offerings, and I like to especially do devotional acts in their honor. I really, really like to do that. I would say I do much more devotional acts than I give physical offerings. And it feels much better at the moment. I kind of feel like I got a lot more relaxed with it. And right now that looks like more honoring them. I give offerings, but I don't necessarily expect anything back. And I also don't give offerings all the time. I have kind of gotten to a point where I'm trying to find like a rhythm of bigger offerings, of bigger rituals. Like, I personally prefer doing bigger rituals, for example, doing proper bloat rituals, just like 4, 6, 8 times a year, to giving water daily. I don't know, I just kind of prefer it. Again, doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just at the moment feels better for me personally. And I'm currently finding myself trying to figure out a rhythm, trying to figure out when bloats were originally performed. So kind of getting a little bit more reconstructive with that. But not necessarily like holding on to that. Like, for example, I could see myself just figuring out which day feels, or like which time frame feels like the start of spring for me, and then at that moment giving an offering to Freya or something, instead of like doing it always on the spring equinox or something like that. So I kind of want to find a way that works for me, but that way at the moment looks a little bit more relaxed and down to earth. And yeah, with that, deity work, deity worship, honoring the gods and goddesses has also become less of a focus in my general practice. I'm still definitely a Norse pagan. I will probably stay a Norse pagan for my entire life. That just feels right. The entire cosmology just feels right to me. But the gods and goddesses have become less of a focus, and local spirits and my ancestors have become more of a focus for me, which funnily also kind of feels more accurate, because the more I read about the Viking Age and the times prior to that, the more I kind of get the feeling, because of course we don't know for a fact how people were practicing and how people were honoring the gods and goddesses and when they were doing it and what they did. We don't know for sure, we just know like some snippets. But I just get the feeling that people were giving offerings and checking in with local spirits and with their ancestors more than with the gods and goddesses. Like, it just kind of feels like the gods and goddesses had like their specific times. But for example, the local spirits were just always important, because if you weren't on good terms with your local spirits, it was possible that you lost your crops and you would die of hunger or something. So it just, to me, feels like local spirits were more important, and I think that is pretty funny because that is where my focus is shifting at the moment. It has been shifting to that side for quite some time, but I just thought maybe I should update you on that a little bit. I don't know, maybe you are finding yourself in the same situation, especially because I feel like ancestor work is, I don't want to call it, it's getting more trendy, but a lot more people at least talk about it. That could be just my bubble, of course, because in general, algorithms work in a way where they will show you things that they think you like. And if you like ancestor work, then you probably get more ancestor work content. But I kind of feel like more people are getting into ancestor veneration and reconnecting and getting closer to local spirits and stuff. So it kind of feels like it's a general shift, but it's definitely a shift for me. At some point, I actually even thought about getting rid of my deity altar because I actually do not use it that often, and giving offerings outside also most of the time just feels more special to me. But again, I'm living in a big city. Giving offerings outside can also be very awkward because there are always people around. So I will keep my deity altar for now. But I mean, if I would be living in a house, for example, I could see myself not even having a deity altar anymore, but instead just setting up a little space outside, which doesn't really necessarily have to be a full-time deity altar, but just a space where I can give offerings. Yeah, I even thought about that, simply because if I'm not constantly sitting there doing things there, it's a little bit more of a burden and doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to keep up. But I kind of see it as a devotional act to the gods and goddesses to just keep up the deity altar and to clean it and stuff, even though I do not constantly sit there communicating and giving offerings anymore. For some time, I actually really struggled with this shift because I kind of felt like an imposter for it. I kind of felt like I had to give offerings all the time and I had to go into active communication all the time and engage actively and be the first person to reach out, if that makes sense. But yeah, as I said, the more I read, the more I research, the more I kind of feel like there was no one way to do it and it is fine if I want to do it this way. I'm always having a problem with imposter syndrome, but if you're putting your practice out there on the internet, of course it's a little bit harder. And I know that a lot of people on my channel are very big on deity work and shit. So yeah, for that reason I kind of felt like an imposter if my practice is shifting away from deity work. But it's fine and it's relaxed. And I don't feel like the gods and goddesses are bothered by that. I kind of feel like they have also better things to do than communicate with us all the time, like every day. So yeah, if they want to reach me, they know how to reach me, they know how to send me signs, and I don't necessarily expect them to do anything. If I have something that I actually want or would like them to do for me, or if I need guidance or something, I would still ask them. But right now, the first thing that I would probably do if I need some guidance or some help would be to go to my ancestors. And if they can't help me because their experience as ancestors, of course, is different than gods and goddesses, then I would go to the gods and goddesses. But I kind of feel like I'm not bothering them with like too much human stuff anymore, if that makes sense. Like the human related things, I kind of feel like ancestors have more of a grasp on because they were humans once. So with those things, I go to them. And if I really need like higher guidance from higher spiritual beings that probably have more power to change things and to change bigger things, then I would go to the gods and goddesses. But they're not necessarily my first point of guidance or for help anymore, if that makes sense. And I kind of feel like I'm rambling, haha. But yeah, I guess that is just something that I wanted to update you on in case someone is interested. I know a lot of people always want to hear about and see creators' personal practice, so I thought a little update would be nice in case someone is interested. I kind of felt the need to share it, also to show that if your practice changes and shifts, and if your focus shifts away from one thing to another thing, that is totally fine, and the gods and goddesses won't smite you if you change up your pattern of honoring them. It's fine. But with that being said, let us honor my patrons and YouTube members. Thank you so much to Autumn, Shay, Pat, Lindsay, Kelly, Linda, The Other Saffron, Orchis Studio, Silent Selena, Richard, Standing Fox, Jennifer, Ryan, Alex, Jazz, Shaw, Christiana, T Demon, Elizabeth, Sylvia, Katrina, V, Bella, Derek, Smiley, Kirsten, Shannon, Andrew, Tisha, Sarah, Roan, Caesar, August, Shelby, Helena, SJ, Anne, Kate, Cade, Z, Kent, Brittany, Small Kata, Josh, Elinura, Knarr, Christine, Rixie Business, Annalena, Ashley, Tim, John, Phoenix, Jenny, Maggie, Amy, Bethany, Timothy, Coffee, or the honorary gossip squirrel, and last but not least, Bjorn. And then my lovely YouTube members. Again, Pat, thank you so much. Lindsay, Betsy, Peony Rain, Milla, and KT. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot. In case you liked this video, then make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up and ring the bell down below so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Feel free to check out my other socials and my shop for ethically and sustainably sourced witchy wares. And if you want to support me in another way, then feel free to check out my Patreon or my YouTube membership. And with that being said, I will see you in another video. Bye!